Hi, Pratish.
Hi,
Hi. How are you?
good, thank you.
I'm done. Hi, Rohit.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi,
Morning.
good morning.
Hi.
Hello, this is Dheeraj.
Yeah, we can introduce ourselves to each other. This is the first time for all of us. Rohit, are you going to be without video and Aditya?
Yes.
Yes, just 1 minute.
What?
Without video?
No, I'll be on the.
Yeah. Because I'll be putting without video.
Okay. So, how is everybody doing? I mean, these are very heavy and loaded times. Delhi is crazy.
Very difficult.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yeah. Even here it's crazy because just yesterday our neighbors, they are all succumbed to virus, and I came to know of few more cases yesterday. So I believe on 27th there was a function here at the local Hanuman temple, but nobody knew that the priest Pujari ji and his entire family is suffering from COVID. So I believe infection by now has spread to most of the mohalla here locality.
I mean, I haven't seen an energy as heavy and as dense as this.
Yeah, sure, for sure.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Now,
it's unfortunate.
it is, uh, there are a few others, but they can join whenever they wish to join. And what shall we do? Shall we continue? Aditya? Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
let's continue.
Let's continue. I good to see you, Aditya. So, I mean, by name, you can understand that Prateek, Dheeraj, Aditya, and myself, as of now, this many of us are here. And how many of us are actually reading the book? I mean, you guys have bought the book or you're in the process of getting the team?
I have bought the book and I am going through the workbook lessons. I haven't read a lot of the text.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had, ma'am, I had already informed you. I have the book in my possession, but there are circumstances which are keeping me busy otherwise. So, but yes, I intend to study. I also joined the Australia group today morning, ma'am, the link to which you had shared. Yeah, so there also I was listening. There was a discussion on the concept of death, as explained here. So I was discussing that with Simon, but then I left because I joined at 6:30, and then by 7 I had to leave. But then I told him that I would be back in the group once I am initiated into this, and today, of course, is the first day. So yes, I hope to gain from here, ma'am, and I'll also start reading now.
Yeah, I'm sure. It doesn't really matter. Once the book is come to you, there will come a time, we all actually sit with the book for a couple of months and then we pick it up. But it's a very
Yeah,
overwhelming book. It's not just
right.
a simple reading of the book, that you do like any other book, but it's a very overwhelming book. It takes a while. So
Sure.
now shall we now start doing something regarding the purpose for which we are here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
what
Yeah.
I've done is initially I have sent certain keywords and the definitions. So what I was thinking is that today we can probably try to understand how to read the book because it's a very overwhelming book. How to understand
Mm-hmm.
the definitions because post has its own dictionary and sometimes the way the course is trying to make you understand something is very different from the way you would normally understand. This is understand definition of some keywords the way I have understood it, so that it becomes simpler for you to understand the course rather than it becoming very overwhelming. Because when I started reading the book, there was absolutely nobody to guide me. So it took at least 3 to 4 readings for me only to try to understand what the soul of the book is all about. It was initially
Right.
going all over my head, but when then you keep on reading it. So the first thing which we have to remember while we are reading the book is, as you all know, it's divided into three parts: the text, the workbook, and the manual. And those who attended the Australian group know that today they were discussing a chapter from manual, where the death
Yes.
part has been explained in greater detail. So manual is
Yes,
basically
ma'am.
for us to understand things in greater detail. Should we so manual? So normally what people do is they try to do the workbook and they do not try to do the text as much. But what
Right.
I feel has worked for me and does work for most people is that you do your workbook lessons, because workbook lessons are very practical and the course aims at making us understand and experience the course. And the text is basically for the intellectual understanding of the whole book. So when you read little
Right.
bit of text and when you start doing your workbook lessons, the workbook lessons start making more sense, and vice versa. Even the text start making more sense, because via workbook lessons, you are practically experiencing the whole thing. So that is the main
Right.
difference between a lot of other spiritual texts, which are also very, very good and fantastic, vis-a-vis Course in Miracles, because it gives you a plan for 365 days. So once you've actually gone through the workbook lessons a couple of times, like maybe for a year, 2 years, 3 years, then you can actually pick it up random and start reading it the way you are guided by the Holy Spirit. Because at every step, what we are doing here while reading the course and trying to understand the course is we are taking the help of the helper, which is Holy Spirit, and we are going
Right.
as to the directions and things which are being advised by him. And that advice, we may think that he is a physical person somewhere out in the ethers of the universe, but that's basically our own consciousness, our own right mind, that part of our mind, which you can say somewhere is in the center, is in the present moment, which is helping you make the right decision and move from fear to love. The whole crux of the book is basically you have to remove your fears and move towards a loving mind, which is the kind of mind which holds within it enough knowledge, truth, compassion, and those kind of virtues which we actually want in a work relationship, which we actually want in our own life, which we actually want even as we are having this conversation. But what happens is we
Right.
want it on our own terms and conditions, and it doesn't, then it becomes a deal. It's not really you're thinking from the right mind. So that it may not become a deal, uh, we have been given a helper the moment the separation happened, and the name of the helper given in the book is known as Holy Spirit, which is the right part of our mind, which helps us in exercising the right part of our mind. But we also have to remember that the Holy Spirit is never going to interfere in our thinking unless and until we call upon Him. And that is called free will in the Course. Now, free will is again a very, very loosely used term in most of the situation, but the Course again has its own definition. The will is free. Free, as we understand, means free, and will means something which we are empowered to do. So the Course would define free will as something, when you're, it's as simply put as your will is free only when your thoughts are moving towards love. If your thoughts are not moving towards love and towards your right, then in that case, in common parlance, you may say, I choose it free will. It's my free will, and I choose it freely out of my own choice. But then you're not moving towards the light, you're moving in the other direction, which is the direction of the ego, the word which is used and coined as per the Course in Miracles. So, this is the concept of free will, and it's by exercising your free will that you call upon the Holy Spirit. Tell him that this is the situation and I cannot handle it myself. Could you please take it into your hands and transform the situation? So the situation is transformed, and how the transformation happens is basically in 2 or 3 ways. Either you change, that is, you start thinking from your right mind, or the other party or the other situation changes, which means they start thinking from the right mind, or you are moved away from the situation and the situation stops affecting you. And when you look at it, you only look at it from the point of but it stops affecting you, and does not mean that you have to have that situation with you all the time, because if it's not required for you, your karma with that situation is over. And the test of that is, are you thinking about the situation with a loving mind? Are you feeling peace in your heart? Are you moving more towards happiness and joy? Then, in that case, you know that you're in the right place and you're moving in the right direction. And mind you, it does not happen once. You have to keep on doing it again and again and again and again till one day you finally realize that it has started working and now I'm in the right place. So this is basically the manner in which you progress towards understanding and trying to read the course. And then now the question which is asked very frequently is, how do you apply course into your day-to-day practical life? So the answer again is very simple: the workbook. The workbook is giving you the practical aspect of the course. So if you do workbook to the T, along with reading few paragraphs, or maybe 5 6 paragraphs of one part of the Course in Miracles, then in that case automatically, I mean, you have to give yourself some time. We have actually brought about the wrong-minded thinking. And the Course says that since the separation happened, uh, the wrong mind came into being. So it's been eons and eons and years. So it cannot happen, like you feel that, okay, overnight I've done 5 lessons of workbook and I'm through half my text. So I should now be, completely free of all guilt and all separation and all anxiety and all chaos in my life. It does not really happen. The triggers will keep coming until such time the same triggers are coming. You mean you need to work on it. So the only way and the simplest way to work on it is you acknowledge it, you look at it the way Holy Spirit would. You do not believe in the drama, but you look at it, you know that it is happening. Once you know that it is happening, you're thinking from your wrong mind. Half the battle is already won. The rest stuff has to be won by the Holy Spirit, not you. So you give it into his hand out of your own free will because you want to move towards loving direction. And then the situation is transformed, and you have to have the faith that in the ethers it has been transformed. But by the time you will realize it, you might have few more lessons to be learned. So that's how it that's how it actually moves. Um, so now this is how the reading part of the Course in Miracles is about. And
Right.
one last thing, that Course in Miracles is a book which you actually do not read, you study. So when you read a book, you just generally read it. You can miss a couple of lines if it's too descriptive and you move on. And when you read, you just read it very fast. Like you read a message on WhatsApp or any other book which is lying on your table, like a fiction or any other book, like any other self-help book. But when you do a Course in Miracles, you actually study it. You study every word, every line, um, try to understand the meaning. And sometimes the meaning does not really flashes to you. It does not flash the meaning to you in the beginning. It takes a while for us to understand the meaning because this book is holographic. When I say holographic, it actually moves in circles and circles like a kaleidoscope. Like we all have seen the Sri Yantra, it just keeps on going and going. And then finally, eventually, you realize that yes, you have understood that particular part. Initially, it might feel very scary, and you might feel. That's why, I think when I spoke to most of you, I said that never ever compare yourself to any of the legends or any of the great teachers or geniuses or elders of the course, because they have really been reading it from 30 years, 35 years, and that's not easy. Reading it and experiencing it and practicing it. Unless and until you practice the Course in Miracles, it's only going to be for your intellectual understanding. Like we have so many scriptures in our own country and in other countries, and most of the time we know little bit about them, or sometimes little bit one. I may know a little bit about Ramayana, you may know a little bit more about it. But unless and until the whole concept is brought into practice, it does not really make any sense. Probably that was the reason, when even in India, the Sufi movement became separate from the mainstream of religion because they believed more and more in practice. So the practice and the experiencing the principles is more important than actually trying to understand it from intellectual point of view. And so that is what the in nutshell is the way to actually start to try to read and understand it. So now from here to where? Now what shall we do? I have given few definitions. Do we need to elaborate more on it? To, or shall I, ask one of you to read a para from the introduction so that you know how to study a para?
Rachna, I think it'll be good
Quest.
to good to read from the book.
Good to read from the book. So shall we read a paragraph from the introduction?
Yes,
Any
ma'am.
para from the
Yes, ma'am.
introduction because shall we?
Yeah.
See, let me just start with the beginning. How it came. How it came is more or less like a story. It's about the story of Helen and Bill. And it's about, I mean, this is a story I guess all of us are aware of. Am I right? Do we need to?
Yes, 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 ma'am.
Yeah.
You had explained it. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, like we all, I mean, this
Yeah.
is a very, very common story and very famous story. So we don't really, if you wish, I can just speak about it, in very, very brief. See, Helen
Yes,
Schuckman
ma'am.
and Bill Thetford were actually working in University of Columbia. They were professors of psychology, and they both had some issues with each other, and they were professional issues. They couldn't see eye to eye with each other at times, specifically when the situations are very difficult. One fine evening, Helen was sitting in her home and she started hearing a voice. And she got a bit confused that why am I hearing this voice? What is it? What is it this wants to tell me? So at that point of time, she didn't pay enough notice to the voice. And she didn't pay enough notice to the voice. She decided, let me first go and have a word with Bill. So she went to Bill Thetford and she told Bill that I'm hearing a voice which is asking me to take notes. What do you think I should be doing? So, uh, Nidhi is joining us. So Bill said, "Why don't you, Helen? Why don't you take notes? Let us see what is it it's trying to tell you, and let's figure out what it is all about. We'll sit in my office. We'll draw the curtains. We'll not tell anybody. It's going to be between you and me." And all. So okay, there are so many incidences preceding this because she used to have a lot of lucid dreaming, and one day, particularly after a very strong argument between Bill and her, the files were being thrown across the table and so on and so forth, and Helen decided to leave the room, and somehow something happened to her, and she just turned back and told Bill that this isn't working. And Bill said, there must be another way. And Helen says, normally she wouldn't say, but at that point of time, she says that if there is another way, I would like to help you find it. So it was a collaboration of two people, Helen and Bill, trying to come to a decision whereby they can find another way. And the course happens to be the other way. And henceforth, after that, she started hearing this voice who wanted to give her the dictation. So sorry. So for the first time, when she took the note, the voice told her that Helen, please take notes. This is a course in miracles. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. And herein lies the peace of God. So these are the three lines which basically encompasses the whole gist of the course. The course is going to revolve in this whole thick book around these two lines. Nothing real can be threatened. which means what is real, anything which has been given to us by God when we incarnated here on earth is real, which means God's love is real, which means the knowledge, the truth, the right mind attributes, whatever are there, that is the real thing, and that cannot be threatened. Nothing real, unreal exists, and anything apart than that does not exist, and herein lies the peace of God. So this happened because of the separation which the Son of God had, and there are many stories. Basically, in biblical terms, there are stories about you know the whole Eden of Garden thing, and you can probably take up that story as the reason why the separation occurred. So this is now what does it say? So, shall I read a paragraph from the book for all of you so that you
Yes,
understand
ma'am.
how to study the course instead of actually just trying to read it. So, um, if you have the book, then I'm reading from preface. Is the last page of the preface, 9, 10, 12. It will be 12. Shall I start reading?
Yes, please.
So, Christ's vision is the Holy Spirit's gift. So, the Christ vision, or our consciousness, or our awareness, the part which makes us see the right mindedness, not only in ourselves, but also in our brother. And our brother actually happens to be a lesson. The lesson is nowhere else. The lesson is in the other. Because who is actually triggering our wounds? It's the other person. So the lesson happens to be in the other. Like if I am having an argument with A, he is my classroom, he is my lesson. So he is the one from whom I'm going to learn my lesson because there is nobody else who's going to come and give me that particular trigger at that point of time. So Christ's vision is the Holy Spirit's gift. So our consciousness is a gift which has been given to us by the Holy Spirit. God's alternative to the illusion of separation and to the belief in the reality of sin. So, what is Holy Spirit? He is God's alternative. He is representing God for us over here. Because in God's eye, none of us are guilty. We are still the pure soul, the pure
Consciousness.
spirit, the pure child, which God thinks we are. So, I'm just reading it again so that you understand better. Christ's vision is the Holy Spirit's gift, God's alternative to the illusion of separation. And the Course says it again and again. Separation is an illusion. It says illusion of separation. So separation is not real. Separation is the illusion. So this world also is an illusion. So anything and everything happening here is also an illusion. Because the world was made because of the separation, and separation is an illusion. So far are we clear?
Yes, ma'am.
God's alternative to the illusion of separation. So any thought which separates us from a brother. So the way you simplify it is, so any thought that separates me from the other is an illusion. Is something which has not happened. And that is the illusion which we are actually forgiving. So we are not really forgiving something which has already done. We are forgiving an illusion, something which was not there at all. So this is how the Course goes in circle. And to the belief in the reality of sin, guilt, and death. So sin, guilt, and death, they are all illusions. Yeah. So moving on to the next sentence. It is the one correction for all errors of perception. So, what is the one correction of all errors of perception? The Christ vision given to us by the Holy Spirit. Right? So, this is a cause in thought reversal. This is a cause in correction. This is a cause which does not tell you that you have sinned or you are guilty or you deserve a punishment. It is a cause that just tells you that there has been an error committed by you, and we are here only to correct the error. And who corrects the error? It's with the help of the Holy Spirit. We try to have a Christ mind, and that is how we just go and correct the error, and there is no other punishment. It is one correction for all errors of perception. So, perception is anything which we see with our own senses. So, this is one of the most difficult and complicated para. That's why I picked up this. So, anything which we perceive from our senses is perception. Anything which we are seeing from the body's eyes, ears, smell, whatever are our senses, is whatever we see from the Christ mind or the Buddha or the consciousness is Holy Spirit's vision, which is the right mind. These terms are going to keep interchanging quite often. Whichever ones you find simplest for you to understand at this point of time during your first reading, stick to that.
Right.
It is one correction for all errors of perception, the reconciliation of the seeming opposites on which the world is based. So, why do we need the correction? We need the correction because we are actually we are living in a world of duality, seeming opposites on which this world is based. So, the world is based on duality. This world where we are reincarnated is the world where duality is. And we all have some correction to take place in our mind. That is the reason we are here. Had the correction not been required, we wouldn't have been here. So this is what it is. The world is based. So that's how the Christ vision in the form of the Holy Spirit is given to us so that we can do the correction of the errors in this world, which is of seeming opposite. Again, the course uses the word seeming. So we don't really use these words or think about these words loosely. The important words, because course believes in non-duality, everywhere it is going to mention any aspect of duality. It is going to use the words like seeming opposites, appears to be, those kind of words. Illusion. It's never going to actually testify that duality exists. So therefore, everywhere it's going to use these kind of words. So as you progress further in your text or in workbook lessons, so wherever these words are used, you have to understand that because cause is trying to make you understand that this is an illusionary world. So seeming, it appears to be like that, dream, these are the words it's going to use. Its kindly light shows all things from another point of view. Its kindly light, the Holy Spirit's kindly light, is showing you everything from another point of view, reflecting the thought system that arises from knowledge and making return to God not only possible but inevitable. Now, the word to be noticed here is inevitable. The earlier thing is the Holy Spirit's light is making you understand a thought system which is based on knowledge, love, truth, the right mind attributes, making return to God not only possible but inevitable. So, inevitable again happens to be a key word here because returning to God is what we are learning here. We are trying to undo the error which was committed eons of years back, which created the ego, which created fearful thought system. So return to God becomes inevitable if you decide and make a decision to use Holy Spirit's way of thinking and thought system. It makes you move towards the right kind of direction, the loving direction, the main attribute. So the keyword here is inevitable. When it says inevitable, it means if not in this lifetime, then in some other lifetime, You will eventually learn this. So, but we have started it, so we can try to learn it as much as we can in this lifetime. Now, I'll go a little fast. What was regarded as injustices done to one by someone else now becomes a call for help and union. So there is no injustice done by anybody else to us, is basically the other person's call for help, and so is ours. Because there was a call for help, because we wanted to find more love and meaning in this situation, that particular incident happened which triggered our internal wounds. So there is no punishment, there is no sin, there is no guilt. It's simply a call for help. So there is no point of time the course will ever make you feel guilty, ever make you feel sinful, ever make you feel that you have done something very horribly wrong. Even if the whole world says, you basically have to find your internal teacher, internalize, call for Holy Spirit, try to understand that what is my part in it. Once you know your part in it, that is, the things become so much easier. And then when we know our part, then we know that it's a call for help. It was a call for help for me. When I had been rude, it was a call for help for me. When I had been nasty, sin, sickness, and attack are seen as misperceptions, calling for remedy through gentleness and love. So, can I move ahead with this sentence? Because we have been talking about it a lot earlier. Defenses are laid down because where there is no attack, there is no need for them, right? So, hi Nidhi. So we lay down the defenses because when obviously when there is no, I mean, like if we are all sitting here peacefully trying to read A Course in Miracles, nobody is attacking anybody. Our defenses are laid down. It's as simple as that. So the simpler you make the course to understand, the easier it becomes to use it in a day-to-day language, into day-to-day life. Defenses are laid down because where there is no attack, there is no need for them. Yeah, it's a very simple, clear English. Our brothers' needs become our own because they are taking the journey with us as we go to God. So the heaven is entered two by two, holding your brother's hand. Why? Because your lesson lie in your brother. It does not lie anywhere else. It does not lie even in this book. That's the reason of this book. Because the cause says the lesson is not here. You're only trying to find your internal teacher through this. This is just a device. This is just a tool which has been given to you. And because it's in your hand, probably it's for you. Because you decide to read it, probably it's for you. And during the course of it, you will realize whether you want to read it or you want to just keep it back. So this is again a very, very important line which is going to be repeated again and again in the book. Our brothers' needs become our own. And what is their need? Simply to move towards the light. It's not away from yours, it's not away from mine. If I want to have a more loving relationship, say probably with Dheeraj, then in that case, uh, he too is expecting that. So my brother's need will become mine. Our brothers will become because they are taking the journey with us as we go to God. So the heaven is entered two by two. Without us, they would lose our way. They would lose their way. If I am not loving and kind towards, say, Nidhi, she will lose her way in the sense that she will have an opinion about me, which is going to put her 3 steps back to finding her own journey, finding her own path. And the same happens with me. I am pushing again myself 2 steps back. Without us, they would lose their way. Without them, we would never find ours. So, this is a very important paragraph which I try to read. I mean, considering the time constraint. So this is how you actually try to read the book. You try to study the book. You try to understand every part of it. And the words which do not you seem to understand at that point of time, never really worry. Never think that the seniors or the elders who have been studying it from such a long time have understood it, and by my not understanding, because you will also understand if they have been into their study for 30 years, what is required of you is to practice. The practice the workbook. Don't push yourself towards intellectual understanding of the book. That will come. There is no way it cannot come. And you suddenly you surprise your own self, when just like that it comes. You say, "Oh my God, what was I thinking?" I was thinking it's not going to come, and I'm not going to understand it, and I'm just pushing myself through the workbook lessons because they look so much simpler to do. So today I will end here, and if we need any more clarification, we can go, or how do you guys want to go about it? You might like to unmute because we have little time. Or we can continue for little 10-15 minutes extra in the next session via this.
I think, Rachna, I'd be interested in knowing, right? Obviously, the text is very, you mentioned it goes in a circle, right? It's hard to understand. The workbook is relatively easy to understand and implement. Um, just like you read this paragraph that said Christ's vision is the Holy Spirit's gift, God's alternative to the illusion of separation. I don't think even if I read this 10 times, I would have understood that Christ's vision means awareness and consciousness, right? So my question is, how do we how do we not fast track, but how can we learn this a little sooner? Because my concern is that I can read this 100 times, but I might not be able to get the insights that you are sharing. So is there a way to, if people are interested, to come a little bit more
Yeah. See,
uh,
I'll tell you one thing.
faster? And
Dheeraj, I studied Course in Miracles alone, all by myself. And I know it is very difficult. And if you have one person also, even one person, one witness with whom you can actually study the course, you can decide, okay, today we are going to do, 5 pages of the book, and let's meet after day after, and we just discuss those 5 pages. So it actually speeds up. It actually helps. That's the reason for study groups. That's the reason why people want to be together while they are trying to understand the course, because you will, after a point of time, you will have your own perspective and own point of view as you go through the reading of the book. I'll have my own, and we all of us stand to learn from each another. So that's really really helpful, and I really wish that that's the reason I wanted to start the study group, that all those who have come behind me and who are finding it difficult how to begin the book or feel motivated enough to begin the book, then in that case I can be that little bit of conduit in see, you learn what you teach. You cannot, according to the course, you cannot learn unless and until you are teaching it. That's the experience. So I'll
okay,
also learn, because I might have done this book many number of times in the last. I mean, I started in the year YouTube came, so you can understand how many times I must have done it, and at least 3-4 times I must have done it seriously also. So, but I
right.
always feel this vacuum that there has never been a teaching learning experience, because I couldn't learn from others, and and now is the time. I think the time is right also, because that Australian group is there and you guys are here. So I think now everything is coming together, and whosoever is interested, we can do it more frequently. We just need to
Hmm.
ping each other. Uh, Email ping is better, because I feel that. WhatsApp is very overwhelming these days. Very overwhelming. You जरा भी छींक भी आती है तो लगता है अब हो ही गया. So yeah, I'm absolutely open to going, doing it more often. I mean, it's such a pleasure, and the times are also so heavy with so much of heavy energy. It's always a good idea to get the right thing into your ears. It does help in lightening you up and lightening your spirits. Considering what Delhi is going through, and I'm actually lost a lot of people I know personally.